for sure. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. So, yeah, Animal Crossing, you must be following the numbers, right? Staggering,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's Nintendo could not have launched this game at a better time. It's
Absolutely.
the timing was ridiculous when you look at when the lockdown started and when Animal Crossing came out. It almost feels like it was meant to go that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
And it's the perfect way to socialize also with people, right?
yeah,
In
yeah,
the
it's,
game.
it's a good distraction. It gives you problems that you don't have in the real
Right.
world, but they are nice problems. Like, did I grab my pears today, and did I go to the shop?
Uh-huh.
More than is my family healthy and are we safe? Like the pair issue is a much nicer problem to have.
Right, right.
Um, and because it's such a slow burn game, you get to play it over much longer periods of time.
Mhm.
So that's very
Yeah,
nice too.
that's so nice. Yeah, absolutely. So, just a quick intro about Rami. If the word positive ever had a face, this is how it looks like. Of course, I don't see his face, but you know how it's probably the most positive guy I personally know. I have a couple of I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of amazingly positive friends in the game industry, and he's definitely one of them. And he's 50% of Flambeer. You know. He's like co-founded that company, and he's the founder of Gamedev.world. And then he recently launched GDC Relief Fund and raised around $81,000.
Yep.
Is that right? Wow, that's amazing. But like one of the question which I always think, it just blows my mind. How can you even think of all of these things, while working on your games? And it's like just way too much, and that I think it answer to this itself is going to be, the classroom for positivity. How do you even think of these things?
Well, I mean, first of all, I do want to apologize that my camera isn't working, but I'm very happy to be here. This is a cool initiative. Yeah, no, I mean, most of the ideas, most of the things that I work on come from talking to people, and
Hmm.
I've had the tremendous luck and privilege to have started my studio with JW, my co-founder,
Yeah.
back in 2010, and we've been fortunate enough to launch our first like major hit game in 2013.
Hmm.
Um, and I just remember when I was starting out, it was impossible for me to go anywhere because we were dropouts. We didn't really have money.
Hmm.
Um, but I started getting invited to different places on the speaker circuit, right? To
Right.
to talk about the games we'd make and to talk about how we run our business.
Right.
And my talks got very popular very quickly,
I know
and
that.
yeah, I started getting invited to
Uh-huh.
to all of these places around the world.
Yep.
But
Awesome.
the only people that could pay for the flight and the hotel, because I didn't have money,
Hmm.
uh, were the big events, right?
Right.
The events in like the big countries in the UK and in the US,
Right.
um, and but I started getting all these amazing invitations from Uruguay and Brazil and India and Japan and Indonesia to like come talk,
Hmm.
but they couldn't afford the flight. So when we had our first hit,
Hmm.
I basically talked to my co-founder and said, "Hey, can I take some of that money and start visiting these places that want to have me over, but
Hmm.
can't afford it? What if we just pay for it?" My co-founder, he's a very good human.
Hmm.
Um, Even though we don't agree about a lot in day-to-day life. I think in
It's
like
always a good thing. That's why we have co-founders, right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But at large about our like ideology towards the world, I think we're very similar.
Right.
So he just told me to go travel, go talk to these developers,
Hmm.
and I think the thing people always think is when I travel that I teach people, right? That I go there and that I bring knowledge and tips and like, but the reality is that I learn as much from everybody that I visit that as I teach them, right?
Very nice. Wow.
So in a lot of cases, ideas I have are just conversations I've had with people late at evening, sitting with a group of people that I've been working with all day, and we're having dinner, and we're just sitting there, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of messed up that most talks aren't English. You just kind of like,
Right.
can I fix that? Right. And that's
Right.
usually where my ideas start. It's just somebody has a problem, and I
Uh-huh.
go, is there a way to fix this? And then I think lately, before I would just do, can I fix it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I've started to realize that I'm getting older as well. Um, I'm
Not at
not
all.
old.
No, you're not. I
I'm
know.
not I'm not old. I've been 30 for like a year now. But the traveling that I do is intense, and I don't think I can keep it up another decade.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to slow down at some point. So my question has become, um, how can we as an industry fix this in a way that doesn't require me to be around? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a very interesting question. It's also why something like Gamedev.world exists, right? How can we do
Right.
an online free virtual games conference that
Absolutely.
supports 8 different languages?
Right.
So yeah,
Brilliant.
that's usually it. It's not as
Brilliant.
if I have all these good ideas. It's just when I see a problem that I think I can fix, I try to fix it.
No, but that's so nice of you because I know like all the big AAA game studios, they are always running after money and kissing the asses of the investors and all that. And the indies usually most of them they keep on struggling to barely survive, right? And you come from pretty much the same world, right? And still you get to meet people and come out with these sort of ideas and stuff. Like it took me like what 25 years to think probably for the first time to do something positive about, because I was one of them who was busy, making money or doing shit,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I think we need a balance, right? Like that's the
right.
important thing. We also need the people that are chasing money, because something like Gamedev.world, to be really
Mm-hmm.
honest, I
Mm-hmm.
can't fund it. I don't have the money to fund the
I get it.
Gamedev.world. So
I get it.
I need those money people
Mm-hmm.
to look at it and go like, okay, we don't want to put resources into helping ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We can support the people that are doing the effort. So as long as we have a good balance of people chasing money, people helping community, people being creative, I think that's the
Yeah.
healthiest way to be.
Yeah.
If one of them gets too much power, that's when it becomes a problem.
I know. I know what you're hinting at, but we're not gonna name. Yeah. So, but yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, this is just incredible. Every time I see you, like you're like an activist. Literally.
Yeah, I think that would be a proper way of saying it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think I first met you in Germany in Hamburg, and Casual
yes.
Connect. We both were like the speakers, and of course our tracks were different and stuff. And that time itself, I heard you speaking, and it was just mind blowing. And after that, we met in GDC, and like we kept on meeting here and there. But
Hmm.
it was always like a pleasure.
Thank
Trying to
you.
understand your thought process and everything. It just blows my mind, to be very very frank. It's like
Thank
you know.
you.
So great. Some quick icebreaker questions. What's your all-time favorite game?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I
I
have a
know,
lot of favorite games, but
there has
the
to be
game,
one.
yeah, if you would ask me what is the game that had the most influence on your life,
Hmm.
um, for like your entire life, it would at the moment it would probably be Destiny.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. I remember the thing what you did in Destiny with the help of
Yeah,
Bungie, right?
sorry.
You actually got engaged, right? In Destiny.
Yes, my ex-wife proposed to
Yes.
me in
Yeah.
Destiny,
Yeah.
which was really cool. It was really sweet,
Yep.
and she did a great job working with the developer.
Hmm.
Um,
Awesome.
but as a whole, that game
Uh huh.
is a massive inspiration. It's a masterclass in game feel. The way the movement works, the jumping works, the combat works
Wow.
is incredible. And I really love how much Bungie is willing to experiment with it.
Uh
Like it
huh.
could be such an easy game, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
They could just do the same thing over and over, but they keep experimenting and they keep trying to find better ways to make that game.
Uh huh.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I always know that they're trying.
Uh huh.
Um, it's been a massive inspiration. It's been with me for the past 6 years.
6 years now. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And I've played every story beat.
Wow.
I play it most evenings of those years.
Oh, wow.
For like, even if it's 30 minutes, I just log in and do a little bit of playing.
Incredible.
So yeah, it is that game for me, the game that you come back to between games,
Uh-huh.
the game that you come back to when you're like a little tired of the day. I just run
Yeah.
around, I have my
Yeah.
Titan, I go punch and stuff, and then I'm good again.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games obviously that are inspiring, but
Mm-hmm.
um, Destiny is the weird one that I always come back to, and I think a part of it is that it's both a very good and a very flawed game. And I've realized that I have a really big weak spot for flawed games.
Right.
Like, because
Okay.
good games, you look at them and you can go like, oh, this is cool, but you can't really. It's harder to see the process of how they
Right.
got there.
Uh-huh.
While with kind of broken games or like flawed games, you can kind of go like, oh, they were trying this. That's cool. It didn't quite work, but it's cool that they tried.
Wow,
Um,
that's an amazing answer, man. I didn't expect this.
yeah,
Amazing.
it's just fun. I love slightly broken games. They make me very happy.
So do you like big rigs also?
Yeah, Big Rigs is so broken that it's kind of hard to find what they were trying to do, but I'm happy it exists.
Okay.
It's
So
that
that
kind of game you look at it, you go like, well, I guess we needed to have a bottom at some point, and found it.
yeah, that was my question to Justin. So I was asking him like, find positive in some of the things. So first question was Ouya, the second was big rigs, and the third
Yeah.
was President Donald Trump.
Oh wow. Yeah. No,
Beat that.
it gets really hard. Oh yeah, it's simple. Oh yeah, they tried. I mean, they
Yeah, yeah,
tried poorly, but they tried.
yeah. At least it established something new,
Yeah.
free games and stuff and all that.
I
So
mean,
yeah.
the idea was good. I really wanted it to work. We actually had Super Crate Box launch on the Ouya.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think it even came pre-bundled with it.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
But yeah, they just didn't do a good job. They missed every marketing beat.
Yeah,
The device wasn't what people were hoping for.
yeah.
But
It was.
it was an important step.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
so hey, here we are.
Yep. Absolutely. And can you tell me anything positive about Trump, by the way?
I mean, honestly, the funny thing is, I remember when he got elected, he was talking about building this wall around the country,
Right?
and I'm half Arab,
Hmm.
and I just remember the political cartoons in the Arab world were all like, "Yeah, build that wall and keep all the Americans inside of it." Uh, and I remember just grinning at that because it's interesting. Like, if anything, like Trump is a disaster in every possible way.
Of
But if
course.
if anything, it really exposes to a lot of Americans
Mhm.
just how broken a lot of things in the U.S. are. And you can say a lot about the U.S. people,
Uh-huh.
but what you have to admit about the U.S. is it's a country of people that has learned to take care of each other because
True.
nobody else will.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think watching the US right now and seeing people protest, his travel ban, seeing people
Yeah.
protest against the actions he's taking, seeing people protest against the anti-equality things that he's doing.
Hmm.
It is really, they are an inspiring people. I just wish it didn't come at the cost of the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
but
agree.
it remains inspiring to me to see how hard
Mhm.
U.S. folks are willing to fight for each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Cool.
that's cool.
Yeah. So, what other game are you playing other than Animal Crossing and of course Destiny? Are you playing any other game right now?
I just finished Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was
Hmm.
very impressed by it.
Yep.
It was a game that I played as a kid.
Yep. Job very
And
well done.
yeah, it's interesting because remaking a game is hard. Most of our games that we make are remakes of games that we've made.
Yeah.
And usually with like a year or two in between. And
Right.
even if there's just a year between,
Uh-huh.
it's really hard to make a good remake of something that takes the original idea, keeps the feel, but still evolves it in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
And Final Fantasy VII just nailed it. You look at the characters and you see how they're using their new technology to like achieve things that they couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Um, the
That,
combat system is phenomenal. I've been just
oh yes.
very impressed by how that game works.
Yeah.
I'm playing Mountain Blade 2, which just
Uh-huh.
came out on PC.
Uh-huh.
Um, I I really love the first Mountain Blade.
Yeah.
I played it back when I was in university.
Mm-hmm.
It's this weird Risk-like game where you
Yeah.
play the combat in like
Yeah.
these giant fights between tons of soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
You third person control one of them as like the commander. It's just really fun. It's in early access right now, so it's a little wonky,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it is indeed super good.
Oh.
And then beyond that, I'm not playing the game, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching my mother play Horizon Zero Dawn,
Oh wow,
which
that's
she
cool.
yeah, she started gaming 2 years ago. I taught her how to play,
Uh-huh.
and it took her months to be able to use the dual stick controllers. And there's still things she finds hard. She really hates the inventory system in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
But she really loves the world and the characters and the story.
Right.
She gets really when the main story just sort of like stops for a little. She gets really upset. Story goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I've been watching my mom play Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a game I've only played once.
Okay. Yeah.
This is so big.
So
And it's
big, yeah, and that's what I was
yeah.
saying. Within 2 years, if she's playing Horizon, then it's a big deal by default, right? It's not an
Yeah.
easy feat, right? So,
No, and she's playing on the lowest difficulty, but I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
gives her about the challenge that I got from the normal difficulty.
You can experience the story and everything, you know.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people go like, oh, but if you put it on easy, you don't experience like the thrill of combat. I can tell you, my mom is having a thrill at combat. It's harder for her, you know. If I see a glint hawk, one of the flying enemies, I
Uh-huh.
just grab my bow and arrow and hit it. Right? My
Yeah,
mom really
yeah.
needs to like take her time, line up the shot. She's getting really good at it, by the way.
Oh
It's
wow.
really impressive.
You
But
should send me one of the video of her playing. You know, I would definitely like to plug in this one. You know.
she live streams. So
Okay.
if you go to twitch.tv/mom
Okay.
VSFFXV, because the
Okay.
first game she played was Final Fantasy 15.
Right.
You can find her live stream there, and she tweets at Mom versus Games, Mom vs Games.
Wow, that's the damn cool, man. Damn
It
cool.
was really cool. The interesting thing is that tweeting and the live streaming kind of started because there was a game that she played
Uh-huh.
that you couldn't share the screen of.
Okay.
Because before, when she would play, she would just do share play on the PlayStation.
Uh-huh.
So I could watch it
Okay.
if she got stuck. But then I think she played Persona 5 and you couldn't share play that at all.
Uh-huh.
So I started thinking, like, maybe you should just live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Now she has like a little community of people that watch her and that like give her tips if she's stuck and that just hang out with her every night.
Wow.
Uh, it's not a big community, but it is a community. So now she has her gaming friends, and it's
Wow.
really lovely. So
So
uh,
cool.
she always
Yeah.
says she got a new world, and it just makes me really happy because that's what I feel games are to me. Right?
Yeah.
They're this
Yeah.
other world that I get to live in,
Mm-hmm.
and that my mom now gets it. Like
Mm-hmm.
she even apologized. She was playing Persona 5, which was a game with save points, and she
Mm-hmm.
came to me and she's like, "So Rami, when you were a kid, like what?" When I would unplug the computer because you wouldn't stop playing, and you were saying like, I just need to get to the save point. Did you lose all your progress? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that's how it works. I'm like, that means a lot to me. I didn't. I lost a lot of save points that way.
Wow. Oh, that's such cool stories, man. You're like constantly, you know, surprising me. You know,
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, my mom is an incredible woman, so it kind of
Of
that
course.
that
Yeah.
story kind of happened. But
Yeah. The
yeah,
the humbleness and other thing what you pursued, you know, I'm pretty sure you got those genes, right? You know, I'm pretty
thank
sure,
you,
you know.
thank you.
So, any you know, hidden gem, like any indie game you would like to shout out for, like any, you know, you
I
think
mean,
that like did not get the dues, probably.
There's been a lot in indie games, and I think there's been a lot that is in response to.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a desktop and you play on desktop,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to recommend Desktop Meadow. It's a little bit like Kind Words, but
Okay.
has a cute bird on your desktop that just
Okay.
flies around. It's a lot of people will go like, is that really a game? But I don't care. Like it is a cool thing made by game
Right.
developers for on your computer.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, I am currently messing around with this cool little what do you call it? It's like sort of a level editor plus a game called Levelhead,
Mm-hmm.
which is super good and really fun, and just it has this cute movement and systems to it where you can really like make interesting level. You could kind of compare it to Super Mario Maker.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So that's been interesting.
Great. Would
Uh,
love to try it out.
yeah, it's just the kind of game that you play and then go, oh hey, this is good.
Right.
I played this demo called Bright Memory,
Okay.
which is sort of a hack and slash first person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Really hard to explain. It's made by a single developer.
Wow. Okay.
And it looks very good. It's not very long. It's literally just an early demo, but I've been incredibly impressed by it.
Okay. Is it there on Steam or someplace?
It is on Steam already.
Okay.
Yeah, it is on Steam. And then I recently did a tweet where I asked people to post games that they're working on.
Okay.
And there are a lot of incredible games that people are working on that aren't out yet that I'm now just watching because there's incredible stuff. People are always making such good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I like about the indie scene. People are always experimenting.
Yeah, it's always new stuff. It's always exciting stuff, and it's never just it's not necessarily the stuff you expect. It's not necessarily the stuff you want.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that's just like, wow, I am so excited.
Yep.
Gun Jam at the moment, which is it's a first-person shooter set to a rhythm game.
Oh,
who comes up with that? Who has that idea? But then they have that idea, and it's just good. You look at it and you're like, oh wow, okay, I want to play this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to play because I love music, and I'm pretty sure that we can do some stuff with that. I'll check it out. That's a great hint,
Yeah.
So yeah, because you have the voice, I wanted to use your voice to actually, give shout out to some of the, indies and stuff, So that would really help, whoever watches the video. So great. What's happening all around us, right? It's kind of funny, and especially events are getting canceled and all those things. And, AAA games are getting pushed, and indies are probably a little better off because small teams and other things and stuff. So can you tell me, because I know you used to do that number one reason to be in GDC, so now tell me number one reason to be positive during this time. What can make you and keep you as a game developer? What is the number one reason to be positive about at this moment?
I mean, I think at the moment one of the things that we get to be excited about is that for a lot of events, for a lot of things that we would normally do online and have restricted access to, based on whether people can afford the flights, whether people can afford the hotels, whether people can get a visa or not. A lot of these things are currently just digital, which means that they're accessible to everybody.
Right.
So out of this horrible situation with the coronavirus comes this incredible wave of people willing to share knowledge and not being able to do it through the traditional channels of large offline events that are sort of exclusionary by default. So we're seeing this sort of like wave of knowledge that's accessible to everybody, no matter where you are, and no matter how much money you have. And I think I mean, it obviously can't replace the value of offline events entirely,
Right.
but the fact that knowledge is now open or
Mm-hmm.
more open than before is incredible, and it makes me very excited.
Awesome.
I hope that when the world goes back to being able to travel and being able to go to events, that we keep this,
Mm-hmm.
that we keep
Yeah.
this digital part.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because Games Beat happened, just got done yesterday, right?
Yeah,
Dean's thing, right? So
yeah,
I was like, because I think he clocked way more than what he used to do in the physical event. The number of viewers and all those things, staggering. He had the
yeah,
Slack also, tons of data, thing was coming over there, and like it was the viewership, I would say, was like around, like, I don't know, I can't quote, so but it was staggering compared to the physical event. It's reaching out to everyone now.
yeah,
So do you think that it should become, and since you did the Gamedev.world, right, the world was not even thinking about such things, right? So do you
yeah,
think it should become a norm, or sort of, like a parallel thing forever, like I remember GDC World, it takes like around 4 to 6 months, finally, when the things go there, and at the same
yeah,
time not accessible to all, right? You need to be probably the all access pass, or I forgot the
yep,
kind of passes and stuff. So it was still, like a kind of locker kind of thing in your house, or somewhere, hidden. So
yep.
so do you think that it should become a norm? Do you think that this will be the new reality, and everybody would, you know so what do you think about
I
it?
think so. I mean, I hope so, right? I mean, it's obviously a new way of reaching people, and I don't think it diminishes the value of offline events. Like my
Yeah,
pitch with Gamedev.world to other events has always been, we're not competing with you.
complimenting them.
Yeah, we're complementing them.
Yeah.
We're making information that wasn't available before, and
Right.
we're making that available to everybody,
Right.
regardless of what language they speak.
Right.
Um, for the languages we support anyway. And I think digital events are not quite there yet. Most of them are just putting the talks online, which is
Right.
already for. I guess now the next step is, how do we make sure that crosses language boundaries.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I think for me, what's interesting about events like this is just that we have now shown that it's possible, right?
That's true.
There's no way to say, oh, we couldn't do it online because it would be bad for our event, or we shouldn't do it online. We shouldn't be open about our content. No, you should be open about your content. If
Right.
you're open about your content, if you're open about knowledge sharing, nobody goes, honestly, I know very few people that go to GDC because they want to listen to talks. Like, people go there to talk to each other, to have
Yes.
meetings, to
That,
deal.
that that that's the sole reason I go for.
That's almost everybody, right? There's a few
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that go like, oh, I really want to see this talk, or I would
Right.
love to
Right.
see this person speak. And it's usually just like a hero of theirs or a topic that they're very interested in.
Hmm.
But most people go to like 3 or 4 talks.
Right. Yeah.
And that's,
Absolutely.
and that's kind of it. And then beyond that, they're running around the conference and just doing their thing.
Right.
Uh, and I think making it seem like the talks are only valuable if they
Mhm.
are visible to a few people is ridiculous.
Right.
But that's
Absolutely.
how they've been selling these events.
Yeah.
So I hope that this year shows everybody, both
Yeah.
the organizers and the attendees, that that's nonsense. And
Right.
that it would be much better to just make those talks available to everybody, use them as marketing for your event. Like, look at the high quality people that we have here,
Sure. Yeah.
and then basically sell access to people, which is what the events are really doing.
Uh-huh.
Because I go to GDC to run into people like you, and to
Yeah.
hang out, and to
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
do deals and talk business. So
Right.
um, that's what they're selling. That's something that online events can never do.
Right. Right. Right.
So that's the value, and I hope that in the future we get to keep the digital part digital.
Absolutely. And accessible to everyone.
Yep.
Yeah. That's so very interesting. So, since we are talking about the positive again, so a lot of things are fairly visible. Like, we know because of this corona, there's less pollution, and especially in India, we talk about pollution all the time.
Mhm.
Then there is digital events are taking over, another thing. And I know how ultra positive you are, from all your stuff. So, can you, figure out something, something positive which happened during this time, which probably common people like ourselves, could not probably see that, we failed to see, anything which is, we're
I
missing
mean,
out on.
it's interesting because this is one of those situations where um, there really isn't much difference between what people see in the world right now. I mean, I guess like people that are good at disease research will probably see tons of interesting systems and responses right now. I mean, the things that make me grin at the moment that are related to the games industry is obviously for now there's a little uptick in people's revenue because a lot of people are at
Consumption
home.
and everything, yeah.
Yeah, but I know that at the other end of this, we're probably going to take a blow because people will have less money and
Yeah.
they're going to be in financial trouble. There's going to be a recession. Games aren't great in recessions.
Yeah.
So that makes me great. It really made me laugh that it turns out that environment artists are just right. When they make a post-apocalyptic game and they put all the graffiti on the wall with like "stay inside" and like stuff like that. That's just right. That's just out there. I can walk outside and see those things, and it's like, oh, they were right. How about that? That was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. And you have been talking about inclusivity forever, right?
Yeah.
So, and it, again, I think the current time shows that we are like, all of us are like together in this, like, no, we're not fighting probably. This is not like country to country kind of fight anymore, right? So
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think one of the nice things is it's sort of an equalizer, and it's not entirely an equalizer. Like we still have to acknowledge that the elderly, the sick, the disabled, that the people that are more vulnerable, the poor, that they are disproportionately affected by COVID. Like, if anything, this whole situation has made it abundantly clear that we as game developers are pretty privileged people, even if many of us are, in other ways, absolutely not privileged.
Right.
Whether we are poor or non-white or don't speak English well or women or whatever, like there's tons of vectors to not have privilege in the games industry. But the fact that we can do our job behind the computer from home without ever having to go outside, well, there are people that have to go outside,
right,
and like stock our supermarkets.
Right.
The term essential worker,
right,
is a very good phrase. I love that word exists now, and I love who we've attached it to. Now we just need to pay them like they're essential workers. Because we're still paying the people that sit behind their desk more at home than the people that have to go outside and deal with this disease every day. So
every single day,
I mean, like I said, this whole situation is exposing a lot of reality to a lot of people that would have otherwise never looked at it or thought of it. For a lot of us in games, I think these systems are sort of evident. Like we can see them because we're systemic thinkers. A lot of us, we look at things and we're like, how does it work?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think for a lot of us, this was clear that this is how the world worked. I think this made it clear to a lot of other people, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, like we talked about earlier, I think a lot of this makes online an equalizer. And that's a positive. And I just hope we keep that up. I really hope we keep that up. I hope this
keeping the
isn't
fingers crossed.
Yeah, that it isn't a temporary thing. And as soon as things go back to, as soon as things go forward to a new normal, that the new normal will include this digital accessibility. That would be huge.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool. So, have you done something for the first time during this lockdown which you never did before in your life, other than not traveling and, of course?
Not traveling is a big one for me. I know. Honestly, I checked and I haven't been in one country this long since 2011.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Which is very long.
Yes, that's a quite a long time.
I mean, the main thing, obviously, I'm doing Iftar and Suhoor and Animal Crossing. That's been big. That's been really interesting. I mean, I've always done Ramadan because I'm a Muslim and I'm fasting. I've always done Ramadan on the road with with different people. Sometimes I'd be in Muslim countries, sometimes I'd be in non-Muslim countries.
Right.
But it was always with groups, and this is the first time ever
Hmm.
I've had to do Ramadan all alone. Like first it was a family thing,
Right.
then I would have a partner that would live with me.
Right.
Then I would be traveling.
Yeah.
So I've never been alone for Ramadan. This is the
Uh-huh.
first year that has ever happened.
Okay.
Um, and right now I'm trying to find ways to make it not feel alone.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good that we're talking, and I'm pretty sure you're having enough fun in Animal Crossing, and of course you are. I know that.
What
Virtual
a good
fun, but
game.
fun it is. Yeah, of course it is amazing. I've been playing
What
forever.
a strange game. I love it very much, but it is really weird when you try to explain it to people. They just look at you and they're like,
Yeah, it's like
So you have a new calendar, you have an additional calendar to your real world calendar, and then you go gamble in the stock market with turnips, and then there's this raccoon tanuki kind of guy
yeah.
that you have like a 2 million money debt to, and you solve it by doing chores on the island and cleaning weeds and
Uh,
sticks. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, it's very relaxing, and they're like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, you're definitely high on
Yeah,
something.
what are you
And
doing? But when you play it, it's just very. I think a lot of it is just because things work the way they feel they should work.
yeah, yeah,
Like not to make it a very like sad conversation, but the way debt works in Animal Crossing is great. You
yep,
just have the debt,
yeah,
but it doesn't affect you. You can still do whatever you want.
uh-huh,
You're still free. You still keep your house. You just pay it off whenever you want, and you can't
absolutely,
progress that thing. You can't further upgrade your house, but you could
right.
get rich. You could like
Sure, yeah,
you could participate in like the stock market. You can like sell fruits on other people's island, and
yeah,
then whenever you feel like you have enough to pay off your debt, you pay off your debt.
mm,
Um, so it's kind of fascinating that I think Animal Crossing is sort of an idealized version of how a lot of things probably should work, but
yeah,
don't.
exactly. When people ask me, I always say that it's a simulation game, and then I explain them, and they say like, "Is it really simulation?" Because I
Yeah,
don't think real life works like that. I said it's
yeah,
deeper. You got to understand it. You got to play this to understand the deeper
yeah.
meaning of this.
It's an interesting game. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad it's here. I'm honestly
Yeah,
glad it's here.
yeah. Cool. So last two questions, So, are we living in a game? Do you think that we are living in a game?
I mean, I've thought about that question before.
Hmm.
I think my response is actually kind of a boring one. It is, would it matter?
It will just go
Is
on.
is there a difference, right? If we are living in a game,
Yeah.
but our lives feel real to us,
Uh-huh.
and the things we do in this game feel meaningful to us.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
when you play a video game, when
Yes.
you play World of Warcraft, when you play Destiny, when you play games with friends,
Uh-huh.
does it matter that the conversations you're having aren't technically like real conversations, and that the worlds you're in aren't real? Because I
It
have memories in
right.
Destiny,
Right.
right? I
Right.
have boss fights that
Uh-huh.
I barely made. I have moments. I have Metal Gear Solid where I realized what the story was happening, what the twists were going to be. I have all
Hmm.
these memories in video games that aren't real, but they're real
Hmm.
to me because I
Awesome.
played them and I
Yes.
lived them, right?
Yes.
So if life is a game,
Hmm.
if we're all a big simulation, but we all believe that everything we do is real and everything believe is meaningful, then there is not really a difference between
Right.
this being a real life or a simulated life. The only moment it would become a difference is if we can actually prove that it
Hmm.
is a game. If we could prove
Incredible.
that if we can prove that it was a game, then yeah, we would start to like reality would start to shift because we would be aware of that.
Yes.
Long as it's just sort of like a theoretical discussion, what if this was a game? Do
Uh-huh.
you believe we're having this conversation? I believe we're having this conversation. So this
Yeah.
conversation is real.
Yeah. Wow. It's actually pretty deep answer. You can't say it's bland or it's like, it's amazing. I probably, it makes me think, about it now from a different angle altogether. It's brilliant. So again, so we know Ramadan is going on. This is the best time for spiritual reflection and self improvement and all. Is there a message would you like to pass it to all the people who are like, because it's even more relevant now. Because the whole humbleness and other thing, is the solidarity part and stuff.
I mean,
It's much. Mhm.
I think you touched on it earlier, but it is like if there's anything that the whole situation right now, this horrible this horrible situation is showing us is that we're all people
Mhm.
and that we're all together and that these borders don't mean much, that these differences between people don't do much, that we're all just people, we all breathe the same air, we all wake up to the same sun, we all go to bed under the same moon,
Right.
we all breathe the same air, we all are vulnerable to the same viruses.
Wow.
um, and I don't think I've ever seen anything do that to this degree,
Mhm.
where people are overthrowing thousands of years of traditions, um,
Yep.
where
Agree.
people, like Mecca being closed,
Yes.
synagogues
Yeah.
closed,
Yeah.
churches suspended,
Right.
the borders in Europe closed, like international travel closed, the airline industry gone,
Right.
or paused. Um, like so much has changed for this,
Hmm.
and it has changed because it'll keep us safe, right?
Yep. Yep.
Despite money, um, despite anything, honestly,
Hmm.
um, we are now the world we live in is a world in which we want to minimize damage to people. And I think that is extremely special. There was this XKCD,
Hmm.
I don't know if you know the comic,
Oh, of
called,
course. Oh, of course. Accessory. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
number 2287
Uh
was
huh.
called Pathogen Resistance. And it was basically, um, it was this comic where three viruses were talking to each other about how they worked so hard to evolve
Uh huh.
and um, adjust and like find a way to attack people,
Uh huh.
um, and then that we are now um, that we are now shifting our behavior, our brain, not our
Hmm.
body.
Hmm.
That our body hasn't adjusted to beat them, but because our body hasn't, our
Hmm.
brains are now doing it,
Hmm.
and that humanity just seems determined to protect each other, and that we have a lot of pasta.
Right.
And I think that comic really drove home to me.
Hmm.
Surprisingly, it was a comic that drove home to me how much the world right now is acting on money is great, but
Right.
our health is more important. Like
Sure.
humanity is more important.
Right.
And there's cynical people, and there's people that are being awful through this, and there's people still trying to make as much money as possible. But if you look at humanity as a whole,
Hmm.
the majority of us is just being careful, not because it benefits us, but because it benefits us,
Right.
right?
Right.
As a species, as a people.
Absolutely.
Um, and that to me is incredible. And it honestly, that to me is surprisingly also the spirit of Ramadan.
Hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
community thing, right? It's about giving to the poor. It's about being together. It's about realizing that despite our differences, despite us looking different, being wealthy, being poor, being whatever,
Uh
we're
huh.
still we're still sitting down at a
Right.
meal together, eating the same food, drinking the same drinks.
Right.
Um, so that for me, it ends up feeling a bit like there's a lesson for us to learn here.
Right.
And
Right.
that doesn't mean the virus is good. It doesn't mean
Right.
the virus is positive, and it
Of
doesn't mean
course.
that we should be thankful for the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
That
Yeah.
in our response, in the way
Right.
we respond, right, like in the way humanity is acting, there's
Hmm.
a lesson for us that I hope we keep in mind in the future.
Absolutely incredible, Rami. It's just like, I'm like absolutely honored, and because this is not the level of conversation I thought it would be, because it was not just insightful, informative, it was spiritually amazing as well. And I just thank you for your time because it actually made my day, and tomorrow is my birthday, by the way, and
Happy birthday.
thank you. And it's really a great gift, it's just so incredible to, finally speak to you on this thing, you're just amazing, man. Stay that way,
Thank you so much for facilitating this conversation, man. It was a super good chat. And
Yeah.
thank you for all the great questions. I had a great time as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. And have fun, and, stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you very much, Rami. And hope to meet you very soon, would love to.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.